ACR User Dialogs is dialogs for Xamarin.Forms applications on steroids. You can do all kinds of crazy things, so let's go check out what it can do for you. Now, as always, before we dive right into the code, let's check out what this package can do for you. So here we got our user interface with a couple of options. This is not even all. There is much more available in this actual package. But here we can see just a regular alert, basically, like you see in Xamarin.Forms as well. Message, title, okay, thank you. We can trigger a piece of code whenever the user dismisses the pop-up. We can see that in a little bit how to do that. Same thing for the confirm, but now we have the no and the yes, please. So this is kind of a specialized alert where you can have multiple options. And again, you can trigger code depending on what the user clicks here. A prompt where you can actually capture user input with this little input right here, which has all kinds of crazy options of how should the autocorrect behave, what keyboard should it show, which code to execute on OK and cancel. And what about this loading indicator that you can pop up for whenever you have this longer running operation and you want to show a little bit of loading to the user without having to implement all your custom stuff right here, and this cancel button that comes with it. You can use all of this also in a dependency injection container and not just by going through the pages like you can with Xamarin.Forms. So let me just stop talking about all of this and let's see how to actually implement the code for all this goodness. So here we are in Visual Studio for Mac 2019. On the left, you can see a file new Xamarin.Forms application with the main page open. This is all in XAML like I love to do. On the right, you can see it running on the iOS simulator. This also works on iOS, Android. UWP is also supported. So lots of support here for many great things, as we will see in a little bit. Now, at the time of recording, hot reload is not working because of all the latest bits with iOS 15. Maybe by the time that you're watching this, should probably be soon. You'll be able to use hot reload as you are used to, but for now it's not going to work. So don't be afraid whenever I change some XAML and it's not showing up on the simulator. So first, let's update the title right here. I'm going to name this ACR User Dialogs because that's the thing that we're going to look into. And before I'm going to do the rest of the UI, let's install the actual NuGet package first because it comes as a NuGet package. So let's go over to our Solution Explorer, right click on the solution level and say Manage NuGet packages. So on Windows, it looks a little bit different, but it should be mostly the same. You'll be able to figure it out. And let's search for acr.userdialogs. There we go. And you should see it pop up. Version 7.2 is the latest at the time of recording. It is still very much maintained. It has almost 5 million downloads, so that is really wonderful. You can see that there is a lot of love for this package. Let's just add it to our project. Actually, let's add it to all of our projects. So our shared project, our Android one, and our iOS one, because as I've explained many times before, this plugin will need code that also runs on iOS, on Android, and UWP because it translates these dialogs to the native ones. So check all of these boxes, click OK, and then we'll have to wait until it adds these packages to our solution. I think some README will pop up. There we have it. And it tells us a little bit about the supported platforms, about the setup. And actually for iOS and Windows, there's not additional setup needed. For Android, we need to do a little bit of setup by copying this line here. So we can just copy this, go over to our solution, and in Android, go over to our main activity. And then we can also see the init lines for Xamarin Essentials and Xamarin.Forms. So let's just here go over to the last line and paste in here the userdialogs.init, and it will reference this as being this activity, this main activity here that we need to pass in so it knows on which activity to actually show the dialog. Now let's IntelliSense help us here with using ACR User Dialogs, import that, and now this is all okay. So we can save this and we can close it. We don't need it anymore. No platform specific code. We hate that. So for the UI, I'm not going to do anything super interesting because we can just have a couple of buttons that are going to trigger these things. Of course, all the code that I'm triggering here with a button, you can also trigger programmatically whenever you, I don't know, load some data, whenever you do other stuff in your application. This is just to show you how to use the actual APIs here. So let's select all these labels and we added a button, and I'm going to add this text, and let's start with a simple alert, and I'm going to put the clicked in here, and I'm going to let a new event handler being generated. So in our main page.xaml.cs, we will now have a button clicked handler. And here, well, actually, let's add the using here as well. Let's do it manually. So do using acr.userdialogs so that IntelliSense can pick up on what we're trying to do here. And now we can say userdialogs.instance. So it's kind of like set up as a singleton, a static singleton. You can just get this instance. But what you will also see is that it is set up as an interface. So you can also register this instance as something in your dependency injection container, and you can inject it into your view models or your other things, because that's kind of like what is happening with Xamarin.Forms, right? You have to call the alerts and the things on pages while you want to probably call them from your view models if you're using MVVM. So this is something that you can set up as a service, inject in your view models, and then you can start using these view models, the alerts and the dialogues and that kind of stuff from your view models. But for now, I'm going to stick with the easy approach just to show you how the APIs work. So userdialogs.instance, and here you can see that there is a lot of options here. You can do action sheets, alerts, confirm, date prompt, hide loading, login, time prompt, and toast. That's basically a lot of the things that are in here. Most of these also have an async variant of it as well, so you can do it either synchronous or asynchronous. Of course, asynchronous is the recommended way of doing it, but sometimes you do have to do things synchronous. So let's stick with the alert for now, and you can see that it takes an alert config. Now this is something that you're going to see for basically all the APIs that we've just seen. You can put in a config which has more options that you can use. Think of background colors, the message, the OK text, the cancel text, all things that you can think of that are applicable to the API that you're using here. You can wrap that in this config and put it in there, but some of them also have an overload for a simpler use case like this one, where you can just say the message, the title, and the OK text, because that's all that a alert basically needs, right? And this is also kind of like the options that Xamarin.Forms has built in. But if you're going to use these user dialogues, then why not use all of it instead of mixing all the things up? So let's go through the alert config actually. So here, new alert config. And then you can specify the options here, the properties here. So Android style ID, I can imagine that you can have some Android native style in your Android resources. So you can use that here and it will show up nicely on Android. To be honest, I don't really know what this exactly does. It will have a default style for you and it will probably look okay. But if you're more of a hardcore user, then you can really tinker with the Android bits right here. Then we can set the message. So maybe you want to say you are now subscribed to Gerald's channel. That might be something that is relevant here. So that's the message. And this is just an alert, right? So this will just have you give you a message and then you can say okay, and that's about it. So okay text is okay. Let's also be nice, okay, thank you. And let's do a title. Subscribed. So that's going to be the title on the top of it. Now, we've also seen a on action, which is basically whenever you click the actual OK button, you can trigger another action. You can do that with a Lambda inline here, or you can create a separate event handler. And what we can then say is, let's pop another one, userdialogs.instance.alert. And here I can use kind of like the simple form dismissed. Let's do it like that, just so you can see how to actually use this. If you don't do anything here, the dialog box will just be closed and nothing kind of happens. So let's just try stop and restarting this one and see what the alert actually looks like here. So we're just going to have this simple button and this alert. It will look like natively how it's supposed to be on iOS and Android and UWP. So it will just be the native alert box, which is, looks familiar to people. So if you can, probably you want to use this. And if we do the alert here, subscribed, you're now subscribed to Gerald's channel. Okay, thank you. And whenever we do that, we'll get a next alert, which will tell us dismissed, because that's the thing that we triggered here. So, okay, that's like the simple alert. Let's see what else we got. So actually, let's just copy and paste this button here. And let's put, I don't know what this text is going to be, but I'm going to generate a new button clicked. So here we have this new button clicked handler, and let's say user dialogs.instance and see what we got more. So we also have the confirm. I think the confirm is kind of like the alert, but now you can do OK and cancel basically. So it's kind of like a specialized alert, if you will. So let's just take this one, and here we can input new confirm config. See, so this is kind of like the pattern that you'll see here. And whenever we do, we can see that there is actually a lot of stuff, actually all the stuff of the alert is in here, but we also now have the cancel text. So you can also do cancel. And now kind of like the interesting thing here, so I can just do this and copy all this basically. So copy all these things from the alert, add a semicolon here, and oh, I missed one. Where did my on action go? So let's add this one too. Okay, here we go. And now, because now you can see the on action is not happy because it takes a bool now. So we are putting a bool in here, which is going to be if the user has confirmed or not. So we can specify a parameter here, confirmed. And now we can suddenly check if the user has confirmed. So let's check if confirmed. Then we're going to show this alert, and else we're going to do nothing. And let's change this a little bit. So you are now subscribed. Do you want to subscribe to Gerald's channel? So let's make it a more of a confirm thing. And let's make this yes, please. Or we're going to do the cancel here, and we're going to say no, thank you, which of course no one's going to use. Everyone is going to go for the yes, please. And the title is going to be subscribe with a question mark. And now the on action will check if confirmed is set, and that's only happening whenever we do click the OK, or whenever the user clicks OK. Confirmed is going to be true, and if the user is going to click cancel, confirmed is going to be false. So let's just update the little label here first. So we're going to make this a confirm. Save that, stop, and restart our application. Now we have a second button, which should show us, I think, kind of like exactly the same dialog, but with an extra button where we can say OK and cancel. So let's do confirm. You can see subscribe. Do you want to subscribe to Gerald's channel? Yes, please. And now it will do the on action. If we do the same thing, confirm, and we say no, thank you, then it's going to go away. Now, kind of like the interesting thing to notice here is that we have like this bold text. At least this is for iOS. This is going to be different for Android and UWP. But this bold text is because it will draw the user's attention. So that's kind of like the default action that you want the user to take. So although the properties are called the cancel text and the OK text, you might want to swap kind of like the texts around depending on what you want to be the default action. But this is kind of like user experience. So that is something that is totally up to you. So that's how the confirm works. Now let's add another one. And I think let's try something different, the alert and the confirm. So let's try the prompt, which is also funny, which is also, again, a dialog, but now a little bit different. You can also input something here. So here you can see that it is more advanced than the built-in stuff from Xamarin.Forms. Although I think Xamarin.Forms can do prompts by now as well. So, you know, it's catching up, but this is still more powerful, as we'll see in a little bit. So, okay, we got a new clicked handler in our code behind. And let's start typing again, userdialogs.instance. What did I do? The prompt. And there's multiple prompts. So you can also have a specific date prompt or a type prompt where you can select dates and times. I'll leave that to you to figure it out. We're going to go with like the generic prompt where you can get input from the user through text. And here we can do the new prompt config. Again, this is like the same API that we've seen with the other ones as well. So this should be, you know, get familiar the more you use it, and you will know where to look for whenever you get started with this. And there's a lot of stuff in here. So you can set the auto correction config for like the keyboard and how the autocorrection actually behaves whenever you're typing on a soft keyboard. Again, the cancel text, the input type, so you can set the input type to all kinds of things as well. Default, email, name, number, so you will get automatically like checks, and I think the keyboard kind of like responds to that as well. So it shows a numeric keyboard or a password keyboard or some other things that might be in there for the operating system. So you can have all these masks basically in here to specify what the user has kind of input in your prompt. I'm not gonna play with this one, but what do we have more? Can you cancel the prompt, yes or no? The max length of the text that you can put in here. The message, so the message is kind of like, okay, message, please input something. What do we have more? So cancel text is cancel. And let's see what else is in here. Okay, and you can do okay action or on text change. So you can also hook into the event whenever people are inputting something in your prompt. You can do a placeholder. So let's do that as well. Input text here. We'll see where that shows up in a little bit. We can set the actual text already, so you can also have text in there already that people can change from there. So maybe you're editing some text in a list and you can pre-fill the text in there, have people edit it a little bit. Or you can set the title, this is a prompt. And whenever we run this, let's actually just do that right now. I did update this one, yes. So let's restart the application. And what we will see now is a prompt. So now you can capture actual user input through a prompt. Again, I think this is available in Xamarin.Forms now as well, but you know, this just has that more capabilities. You can see the title, you can see the message, and you can input the text with the cancel and the okay, and you can see the placeholder right here. So input text here. This is my text. Okay, so that's the prompt. Now, these are all still dialogues that kind of like, you know, request users input. There are other things in here, so let me show you one more in the short time that we have for my videos. If you have any more questions besides what I'm showing you here, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to make some kind of follow-up video. But here, let's create another button actually, and let's make this a loading. So you also have loading and progress, and I think you have another one. So here in our new button, we're also going to do userdialogs.instance.loading, and you can show a loading screen, which is pretty cool as well. You can give it a title, you don't have to. This is kind of, I've noticed this is the only one, or maybe one of the few that doesn't use like the loading config objects that you have to put in here. So here we can just do a title. So let's do loading, and you could say loading data, maybe something more specific to what you're doing. You can specify a cancel action. So again, this can be a Lambda expression like this, but this can also be another method where you specify in here. So just make a reference to a method outside of this body, which could, you know, work for your readability. Then the cancel text. So the cancel text is going to be cancel. And again, all of this is optional, right? So if you don't do the cancel, I think you need to do the cancel action and the cancel to actually make the cancel button show up. If you don't set either of those, it will not show up and it will not work basically. And you don't have to use them. If it's not something that the user can cancel, then don't specify this. It will just load the data without the user be able to do something about it. So show true. Yeah, I want it to show definitely. And I can also do the mask type. So the mask type is cool too. You can set it to black, gradient, clear, or none, which basically, you know, whenever you show this loading indicator, what should the background look like? So let's make it a gradient, which is, you know, makes it's a little bit different than usual. So you will see what it shows up. And if you inspect what the loading does, it will return to you a iProgress dialog. So you can also capture a reference with that. And then you don't have to recreate all this code every time, and you can set the show to false, and you can just capture the instance of this loading call right here, and you can set the show to true and false in other places in your code, and then you can also say hide loading from there. But there's always only one loading indicator shown on screen, so what you can also do is userdialogs.instance.hide loading, and it will hide the only loading indicator that is in here. So whenever we do this and we specify hide loading, so let's just do that and restart our application. The loading indicator will run as long as you will not hide it. So if you're loading data in the background, just do the loading, do all the loading of your actual data, and then do hide loading to actually hide it, which can be kind of tricky because if you end up in an exception, then your loading indicator might show all the time. So, you know, there's definitely scenarios that you need to take into account here. So let's do loading, and now you can see the background goes to this gradient. It shows loading data, and it will keep showing this as long as I don't touch anything. And we have this cancel button, which will trigger the hide loading, and then it will hide again. So this is how you can use the loading indicator as well. And that is the basics of ACR user dialogs. Now, this is a package by Alan Ritchie, who is well known in the Xamarin community. He's been also working on Shiny. He's been working on this. He's been working on a lot of other things as well. So thank you so much from this place, Alan, for all your efforts, because you've been really doing a great job for the Xamarin community. And this is really great stuff that you're putting out there. So if you are using this, please let me know. Maybe if you are looking into using this, but something is not clear from what I just told you, please let me know down in the comments, and I will be sure to answer your question and maybe make a follow-up video on this as well. Thank you so much for watching again one of my videos. Please click that like button if you've actually liked it, so that other people can hopefully enjoy it as well. It will pop up on their feed, and they will know that you enjoyed it, and they can learn from this as well. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and for the rest, I'll be seeing you for my next video. Keep coding.